Discover the incredible moment a homeless girl saves a billionaire and his child, a life-changing encounter awaits. Lily woke up to the soft drizzle tickling her cheeks and the faint aroma of a nearby bakery wafting through the damp air. She stretched her arms and smiled at the skyscrapers far above her, glittering like giants full of dreams that shimmered just out of reach. 2 months ago, she found her little family a band of street kids living in the shadows of the rich. They had all called themselves the Warriors, fighting for survival in a city that held little empathy for them. Together, they shared food scraps, laughter, and stories under the gaze of the towering buildings that formed their home. Each day, she looked out for Mr. Thompson, the elderly veteran at the local shelter. His hands trembled as he spoke about the war, but his eyes sparkled with life. "Never forget the bond, kid," he'd say, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. Lily adored those moments. They were like treasures in a world that often felt barren. The warmth in Mr. Thompson's voice acted as a bridge, pulling Lily closer to the community that strived against the odds. Meanwhile, miles away, David's life was entangled in luxury and pressure. As a tech billionaire, he was always on the frantic treadmill of success, forever trying to make Max happy, his soon-to-be teenage son. The boy seemed to suffocate under the weight of glossy expectations. David feared his world was slipping away, but he couldn't pinpoint why. On that fateful evening, David's car broke down just a few blocks away from the shelter where Lily roamed. Stuck in a part of Chicago he barely knew, he stepped out into the stormy twilight. Rain began to pour, thick drops blurring the glimmer of the city lights. Frustrated and desperate, he searched for a place to shelter from the rain. That's when he spotted Lily, hair soaked, clothes tattered, yet her eyes gleamed with determination. Initially, he looked away. She looked too rough, too lost. But Lily saw the glimmer of opportunity in his distress. Just as she was about to step forward, thunder cracked violently. Dark clouds swallowed the light, and chaos erupted. Max, dodging raindrops and running, lost his footing near a flooded street. Lily's heart raced as she saw him slip closer to danger. Without a second thought, she dove in, her small frame cutting through the water. "Stop!" shouted David, but the sound was swallowed by the thunder. In that split second, everything changed. Hands gripped the boy's arm before the cold waters could pull him down. The moment of that heroic dive shook David to his core. Here was this homeless girl, someone society had shunned, showing immeasurable bravery. The storm didn't matter, it was a fierce moment of unity and understanding. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the storm began to subside, the two worlds collided like never before. David felt the layers of his privilege peeling back. He stared at Lily, breathing hard but glowing with courage. Meanwhile, Lily, soaked yet triumphant, gave Max a reassuring smile. It was a fleeting moment of connection wrapped in danger and bravery. Neither of them truly understood what had just happened, but they felt it an unspoken promise, a spark of hope. Yet, lingering questions shadowed their newfound bond. Could David learn from Lily's grit? Would Max break free from the heavy chains of expectations? As they sought refuge, warmth seeping back into their souls, the storm left them on the brink of a revelation, one that could shift their lives forever. Lily found herself seated on the damp floor of the shelter, still dripping from her heroic plunge into the murky waters. She wiped her forehead, her heart still racing with the adrenaline of that wild moment. Max sat across from her, wrapped in a thick blanket, his wide eyes glistening with a mix of shock and admiration. David hovered nearby, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, visibly reassessing everything he thought he knew about life, privilege, and the people who lived in the shadows. What were you thinking?" Max stammered, his voice a mere whisper compared to the thunder that had just passed. You could have drowned. Lily shrugged, the corners of her mouth twitching into a small smile. I didn't think. I just knew I had to help. Her words came out as if they were a simple truth, devoid of the weight they carried. She felt an urge to explain, but deep down, she knew some things couldn't be put into words. David's gaze settled on her. You were brave. He paused, the humility creeping into his tone. I should have helped you instead of standing frozen. Thank you. The sincerity in his voice struck a chord within her. It was more than just gratitude, it was an acknowledgement of her existence, something that felt rare amidst the echoes of disinterest she had grown used to. I just did what felt right, she replied, her voice steady even amidst the tremble of vulnerability. That a moment of silence fell between them, filled with the distant sounds of the shelter bustling with life. Lily could feel a shift within the air. David was suddenly human to her, not just a figure of wealth and success, but a father worried for his son, vulnerable and exposed in this unfamiliar world. Max leaned forward, curiosity igniting his youthful spirit. Can I ask you something? Sure, she said, folding her legs beneath her, crinkling her blanket. What's it like out there? He gestured toward the street, his fingers trembling as they pointed to the life beyond the cold walls of the shelter. Is it really as bad as people say? Lily took a deep breath, recalling the hardships of daily survival. No guarantees, no safety nets, just the raw earth beneath her feet. Sometimes it's tough, but other times, it's beautiful. You build your own family, stop waiting for someone to save you, and find joy in the smallest things. Like crumbs shared at sunset. David was nodding along, absorbing every word. As Lily spoke, an idea began to flicker in his mind. Perhaps they could learn from each other. There was something profound in her resilience, a lesson that extended far beyond societal expectations. But what if no one cares? Max asked, hope and despair swirling in his eyes. What if it's all too hard? Some don't care, Lily admitted. But you have to fight to find those who do. And sometimes, you make people care without even trying. There was a spark, a lesson within that statement that struck both David and Max, a call to action without them even knowing it. An urge to bridge their worlds. As the three of them sat there, one drenched but unwavering, and two others draped in the weight of their realities, and understanding wove through the fabric of their hearts. It was the first thread in a new tapestry about to unfold. Max broke the silence, a tentative grin spreading across his face. Maybe you could teach me how to see the good in everything? Lily's smile broadened, lighting up her face. I'd like that. But just as hope began to bloom, a sharp voice cut through the air, heralding an unexpected visitor. What's this? You're bringing street rats into our safe space. The accusatory words slapped the room, challenging the fragile connection forming. David straightened, emotions bubbling to the surface. He clenched his jaw, ready to defend Lily and Max, unaware that this single moment could change everything they were building. How would they respond to this sudden hostility? Would they stand together, or would the weight of the world tear them apart? Lily's heart sank as the words hung heavy in the air. The initial warmth shared in the shelter quickly turned to frost, the tension palpable. She looked at David, who seemed to transform from a kind father into a protective warrior, his shoulders taut and his eyes narrowing. Who said that? David's voice rose, filled with defiance. The man in the doorway, a tall figure draped in a designer coat, surveyed the room with disdain. His sneer carved out what little safety the shelter had. Lily's pulse quickened. This wasn't the first time she had faced scorn, but it felt different. There was something raw and vulnerable about her connection to Max and David that now hung in the balance. Why does it matter? David continued. She saved my son. She's not a street rat. She's a hero. Those words sparked a warmth in her chest, but the silence that followed felt like an open wound. The man stepped fully into the room, menacing yet elegant, as if he wore his privilege like armor. Heroes don't belong here, he scoffed. And what kind of lesson are you teaching your son? How to sympathize with the undeserving. Max's face fell. His bright demeanor dulled under the weight of the accusations. That's not true. He protested, standing up. Lily is brave. She saved me. The man waved him off dismissively, but Max stood firm. Something inside him had shifted. He was awake to the unfairness that was slapping them all in the face, and he wouldn't back down. Enough, Lily found her voice, stronger than she expected. I didn't ask for your approval, and neither did Max. We're here, in a place meant for caring, for humanity. If you think this is just a shelter for street rats, maybe you should take a look at yourself. The room froze. A shiver raced through Lily's spine. Had she really just said that? The silence felt like a breath held too long, everyone waiting for the man's response. David's eyes widened with pride, and something shifted between him and Max, who looked like he might burst with courage. It was a fragile, yet powerful moment, cracks forming in the facade the man had built around himself. A flicker of surprise crossed the man's face, but it quickly melted into condescension. You're all delusional. This is not your home. You don't belong here. Tell me then, Lily interrupted, what does belonging really look like? The question echoed in the room, each syllable heavy with emotion. It forced the man to pause, and in that moment of hesitation, David stepped up beside Lily, the two standing as an unexpected wall. She belongs here because she is a better person than you'll ever be, he stated, each word deliberate and firm. The crowd in the shelter began to murmur, whispers of agreement rippled through the gathered people. Lily felt the energy shift. Could this moment truly bridge the gap between their worlds? Could they stand together against the tidal wave of prejudice? The man's defiance faltered, uncertainty flickering in his eyes as he glanced around at those watching. Then he scoffed one last time, but it sounded less certain, more a retreat than a declaration. You'll see. You're wasting your time with someone like her. With that, he turned and left, leaving behind a mix of relief and confusion. The air grew lighter, yet heavy in a different way. Lily turned to David and Max, their eyes locking in mutual realization. They had taken a stand together, and while their fight was only beginning, this was a start and opening to change the narrative. What just happened? Max whispered, a hint of awe lacing his voice. Lily smiled. We spoke our truth and maybe, just maybe, we planted a seed. David nodded, looking at her with newfound respect. You're right. Maybe we can create something new here, together. But Lily couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenges were still ahead of them. Could they truly hold on to this moment of unity against the larger world? Just then, the shelter bell chimed again, and a new wave of people entered, their faces a mix of desperation and hope. The trio shared a look, and Lily wondered, separated by walls of circumstance and prejudice, how many more heroes could be hidden in the shadows waiting for their moment to rise. The new arrivals swept into the shelter, faces gaunt and eyes haunted by stories untold. Their presence filled the room with a different kind of heaviness. Lily watched as an older woman, her hair matted and her clothes frayed, clutched a young boy tightly to her side. The boy looked up at Max, and for a moment, there was an unspoken bond between them. Max's heart swelled with empathy, aching for this family. He took a step toward them, the instinct to help rising within him. As he approached, Lily felt a wave of pride wash over her. He was finding his voice, just as she had. What's your name? Max asked softly, kneeling down to meet the boy's gaze. Sam, came the small reply, a flicker of hope igniting in his blue eyes. Hi, Sam. I'm Max. He smiled warmly, then looked back at the woman who appeared exhausted yet fiercely protective. Are you okay? Her brow furrowed in disbelief, as if this kindness was an unfamiliar currency. We just need a place to stay, she whispered, her voice cracking. Max seemed to absorb her words, and then he turned back, his eyes shining with determination. We can help. Right, Lily? Lily nodded, her heart swelling. Of course. There's room here for everyone. David, still standing beside her, crossed his arms, watching intently as the atmosphere shifted. The sudden interruption hadn't just been a call for help, it had become a unifying moment, an invitation for others to stand together like they had earlier. "Come on in," David said, arms uncrossing as he stepped forward, a genuine warmth emanating from him. "Thank you," the woman replied, speech breaking into hesitant gratitude. But relief didn't dissolve the worry etched deeply in her features. The tension eased just slightly, yet uncertainty clung like a shadow. More people filtered in behind the older woman, some clutching belongings wrapped in thin blankets, others leaning on companions for support. Each face told a story of struggle, sending jolts of reality through Lily's core. As families settled in, Lily caught sight of the man from earlier lingering just at the edge of the door. His eyes flicked from one group to another, as if he wanted to absorb every detail while simultaneously pulling back, unwilling to be part of this chaotic tapestry they wove. "Are you leaving?" Lily called out, her voice strong, cutting through the murmurs. His gaze connected with hers, startled, then quickly shifted as if the ground under his feet was shifting. "You've made a mistake. Maybe that's true for both of us." The edges of his mouth curled down, and for a brief moment, doubt flickered in his eyes, like a storm cloud threatening to break. Then, with a huff of disbelief, he turned sharply and disappeared into the night, leaving Lily feeling unnervingly exposed. The shelter buzzed with renewed energy, voices blending in laughter and conversation. Max was now engaged with Sam in a game of make-believe, their laughter echoing among the tall walls, drowning out the shadows lurking outside. But part of Lily's heart tightened in response to the man's departure. She felt the real battle was still waiting for them in the shadows: prejudice, judgment, the weight of their circumstances. "Lily," David's voice broke her reverie, and she turned to see Max wrapping an arm around Sam, a wide smile painted on their faces. "Will you stay?" Sam asked, innocent hope shining brightly. "Of course," she replied, her voice steady. But in the depths of her mind, she couldn't shake the worry that what had happened in that moment with the man was just a glimpse of a storm brewing. What if the world outside these walls still knew no mercy? Lily inhaled deeply, gathering her resolve. They had stood together, but how long could they hold on to that hope? And would it ever be enough? As the laughter filled the room, the door creaked open behind her once more, and her heart raced. Who now was stepping into their fragile sanctuary? With a soft creak, the door opened wider, letting in a gust of chilly night air that sent shivers through the shelter. A tall figure stood silhouetted against the streetlights outside, a face hidden beneath a hood. For a brief moment, time seemed to hang still as everyone in the room turned toward the intruder. "Who's there?" Lily called out, her voice steady but laced with curiosity. The figure hesitated, then took a step forward, the dim light revealing features worn but dignified. It was a young girl, no older than 12, her eyes big and dark like pools of mystery. She clutched a ragged backpack close to her chest. Silence enveloped the room once more. With the commotion of the new arrivals, the atmosphere had been filled with laughter and chatter, but now a hush fell, thick with uncertainty. "Can I come in?" the girl asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," Lily said as she took a tentative step toward her. "What's your name?" "Jade." The girl's eyes flitted around, landing on the people gathered. She seemed to measure the kindness flickering in their faces. I heard you help people." "Yes, we do," Lily replied, reaching out to encourage her step inside. "Come on, you're safe here." As Jade entered, she scanned the room with a mix of fear and hope. Max and Sam had paused their game, curiosity shining through Sam's previously joyful demeanor. He tilted his head and looked at Jade, who returned the gaze, awe mingling with empathy. "Do you have any family?" Max asked, his tone gentle, as though he was cautiously unwrapping a delicate gift of trust. They didn't want me anymore," she admitted, her voice trembling, and in that moment, the weight of 1,000 painful stories filled the space between them. Lily felt a surge of protectiveness as she saw tears welling in Jade's eyes, reflecting a sadness that was achingly familiar. "You're with us now," she said, warmth weaving through her words. "We're a family here." Jade nodded slowly, her fingers clutching the straps of her backpack tighter. David stepped forward, a comforting presence. "Would you like something to eat or drink? We have plenty to share." Jade nodded again, hesitant but hopeful, and soon David led her to a scattered assortment of sandwiches and homemade cookies. As she sat, she ate cautiously, almost as if the food was a reminder of a love she once had but had lost. Lily watched from a distance, her heart swelling with affection for these children, Max, Sam, and now Jade. In their innocence lay a powerful spirit, a defiance against the bleakness of the world outside, and in that warmer room, they were forging something beautiful, something unbreakable, but beneath the surface, turmoil brewed. The truth of Jade's abandonment haunted Lily's thoughts. With families unraveling, how many more children were out there, lost and waiting for that same embrace? "Will you play?" Sam asked, breaking Lily's train of thought. He motioned excitedly to the toys scattered in a nearby corner, bringing a spark of joy back into the room. Jade looked unsure, glancing back at Lily as if she needed permission. The tension that swept through her eyes was a stark contrast to the innocence of youth. "Go on, it's okay," Lily encouraged. "You deserve to play." As Jade's laughter tentatively joined the chorus of other voices filling the shelter, another shadow loomed beyond the threshold, and once again, Lily's pulse quickened. Who else was coming to seek refuge, and would they bring more challenges to the fragile sanctuary they had created? The door swung open once more, revealing a silhouette that seemed both familiar and indifferent. The tension in the room escalated as the figure stepped inside, and Lily's breath caught in her throat. Would this presence shatter their moment of connection or deepen their resolve? As the figure stepped forward into the sanctuary, recognition washed over Lily like a cold wave. It was Victor, a man she had known from her past, a once successful entrepreneur now wearing the look of someone hardened by the world's rejection. His clothes were tattered, and the glimmer in his eyes, once bright and hopeful, now dulled by hardship. "Victor?" she asked, cautious but unable to hide the wave of emotion that surged forth. He met her gaze, and for a moment, the weight of their shared history hung heavy in the air. "Lily, it's been a while," Victor replied, his voice a mix of disbelief and shame as he scanned the room. The sight of the scattered toys and laughter struck a bitter chord within him. "What happened?" Lily asked softly, though her mind raced with questions. "I lost everything." His admission was quick, sharp. "I thought I could fight it. I thought I could keep my daughter safe." But he paused, glancing past Lily to the children. "I guess pride isn't enough to hold things together." As silence cloaked the room, Jade's laughter finally quieted. She turned to look at the newcomer. The once lively atmosphere felt stifled with unease. "Is that your dad?" Max asked innocently, his eyes wide with curiosity. Victor's heart twisted at the innocent question. "No, I'm not here for that," he stammered, suddenly feeling a weight of shame for what he had lost and how he felt detached from his own daughter. "I'm just looking for shelter. For warmth." David stepped closer, his expression cautious but kind. "You can stay, but we don't have much. We share what we can." Victor nodded appreciatively but couldn't help feeling like an intruder. "Thank you," he murmured. Lily studied him closely. She recalled the man who once inspired so many with his ambition. Now, he seemed painfully aware of his failures, like a shattered mirror reflecting broken pieces of himself. Though they had shared dreams of success before, now he stood lost amidst the innocence around him. Jade, sensing his struggle, approached Victor tentatively. "You can stay with us," she said, her voice small yet steady. There was a sincerity in her offer that struck Victor deeply. He knelt to her level, searching her eyes. "Why do you care?" "Because everyone needs a place to be," she replied simply, her heart untouched by the burdens that weighed Victor down. As Victor watched her, the hardness of his exterior began to shift. Maybe there was a flicker of hope left, maybe, just maybe, he could find a new purpose. But just as the tension in the room began to ease, a loud crash echoed from outside. Everyone turned towards the door. The shadows outside loomed larger, and a sense of panic began to creep into the air. What was that? Sam whispered, his voice trembling. Lily's heart raced. Stay here. She commanded as she moved toward the entrance, Victor right behind her. The world outside felt different now, darker and filled with uncertainty. As the door swung open against the chaos, a group of 3 rough-looking figures emerged from the night. They stood at the threshold, their faces twisted in threatening grins, the flickers of the streetlights just catching the glint of something metallic in their hands. Lily's breath hitched. What had just unfolded in their little haven? What were these intruders after? In that moment, she realized that their fragile sanctuary was about to be tested in ways they had never imagined. Lily's heart pounded like a drum in her chest as she locked eyes with the 3 intruders. They didn't look like they were coming for help, the malice in their grin sent a jolt of fear through the room. Who are you? She demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. The tallest of them stepped forward, his hands shoved deep into the pockets of a torn jacket. Just some folks looking for a good time, he sneered, his breath heavy with alcohol. And it looks like we found it. Jade clutched Max's arm, the innocence in her eyes replaced by confusion and worry. Mommy? She whispered, her voice barely a squeak. Stay behind me, Lily instructed, instinctively shielding the kids as Victor positioned himself beside her, uncharacteristically tense. This was clearly not the reunion he had envisioned. You don't want any trouble, Victor said, trying to sound brave, his voice cracking slightly as he stepped forward. It was a different kind of bravery, grounded more in his desperation to protect than in authority. Trouble is exactly what we're after, the second man chimed, brandishing the metal object in his hand, a baseball bat that caught the flicker of the streetlight and glinted ominously. Please. Sam's voice broke in, trembling as he stepped towards the intruders, the courage of a child shining through his fear. We don't have anything for you. Just leave us alone. Ah, look at this little hero, mocked the third figure, his eyes glinting with delight. What do you think you'll do? Fight us off with your toys? They laughed, a sound that sent shivers down Lily's spine. We can't let them in, she whispered to Victor, who was now standing firmly, a different man than the one who had walked in moments ago. There was a fire in his eyes, a flicker of determination mixed with despair. I'll distract them. You get the kids to the back, he said quietly, scanning the room for options. No. She responded sharply. That's too dangerous. Lily, you have to trust me, he urged, his voice low but urgent. We can't fight them, she argued, panic rising in her voice. We have to do something. Victor insisted, his bravado filling the space between them. The children's quiet breaths filled the silence, and for a moment, it felt as if the air had stopped. Suddenly, the 3 men exchanged glances, the atmosphere thick with tension. It was clear they were getting bored with their intimidation tactics. The lead figure stepped closer, eyes narrowing. Time's ticking, sweetheart. Hand over whatever. Before he could finish, Jade bravely stepped forward, surprising everyone. You're not scary. She declared, her small voice somehow cutting through the tension like a knife. The men froze, taken aback by her unexpected boldness. Lily felt a surge of pride wash over her. She had seen bravery in the face of bullying before, but never quite like this. Who do you think you are? The first man scoffed, incredulous, but instead of backing down, Jade added, we have each other and that makes us stronger than you. For a moment, silence enveloped the room. Lily felt the weight of the world hanging in the balance, and she knew every heart around her beat stronger because of Jade's unyielding spirit, but the tension quickly snapped back. The men exchanged narrowed looks, their eyes landing back on Victor. Enough of this, the tall one growled, stepping forward threateningly. Lily's brain raced, desperation pulling her thoughts in different directions. She had to protect the kids, but could she also help Victor regain the courage he lost? As the men lunged, Lily felt time stretch. Adrenaline coursed through her, stoking the flames of bravery. Would it be enough? The future of their fragile sanctuary hung in the balance as they faced the growing threat. Would they stand together against the darkness approaching, or would fear tear them apart? And just as the first blow struck, everything went dark. Lily's heart raced, and for a split second, everything went silent. The air felt heavy and thick, as if time itself had stopped. She could barely process the chaos unfolding before her, the shadows of the intruders merging with the haunting darkness around them. In that moment, it felt like their collective breaths were all that tethered them to reality. As the darkness enveloped her, an unexpected flash of light rippled through her mind, illuminating scenes from the past, laughter echoing through their home on sunny days, the smell of cookies baking on cold winter afternoons, and her children's innocent giggles. Memories flashed like a moving reel, urging her to fight, to shield her precious family. Then, out of the black void, a strong shout pierced through, "Enough!" It was Victor's voice, a fiery command that broke through the chaos. It jolted Lily back into action. The impact of the blow she hadn't seen left her momentarily dazed, but she wasn't out for the count. A second later, Victor stood, battered but resolute, squaring his shoulders. He hurled a chair in the direction of the intruders, catching one of them off balance. "Get back!" he shouted, voice trembling but powerful. "Mommy!" Sam cried, a mixture of fear and disbelief in his voice. The innocence in his eyes cut through her like a knife. Lily turned to him, squeezing her eyes shut for a moment. "Stay behind me," she said firmly, finding courage in her children's faces. Jade looked up, her little chin jutting out defiantly. In that determination, Lily found an anchor amidst the swirling storm. "Back away!" Victor commanded, his body inching closer to Lily, a human fortress shielding his family. The intruders paused for a second, a flicker of uncertainty crossing their faces. Jade, sensing the tension, stepped forward again. "You know what?" she declared loudly, her small voice echoing against the walls. "We are stronger than you think. We are not afraid." Her words resonated, powerful for such a tiny frame. The lead intruder, momentarily thrown off by the little girl's bravery, hesitated. "What are you gonna do, kid?" he mocked, attempting to recover his dominance, but Lily's protective instincts kicked into overdrive. "We'll fight," she said firmly, her heart thrumming wildly as she tightened her grip around a nearby lamp, ready to swing. "Together," Sam added, mirroring Jade's brave stance. The children stood resolute, a united front. The intruders' laughter faded, replaced now with uncertainty flickering in their eyes. With every ounce of strength she had, Lily shouted, "Get out of our home!" The determination in her voice shocked even her. The kids were right together, they might just stand a chance. "Let us show these guys what family really means," a newfound resolve echoed in her heart. She felt Victor's hand on her shoulder, grounding her, and she turned to him. There was an undeniable connection between them that pulsed with unyielding strength. Just as the tension reached its peak, the door burst open, flooding the dark room with startling light. A figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, someone she never expected to see. "Stop right there!" it boomed, authority lacing every syllable. The shadows shrank back, and Lily's breath caught, her heart leaping with hope. Who was this unexpected savior, and could they all survive the next few moments that would change everything? The figure in the doorway stepped forward, casting shadows aside like a curtain being drawn back. The blinding light revealed a familiar face, one that sent a jolt of recognition through all of them. It was Margaret, Lily's closest friend since childhood. Her eyes, once warm with laughter, now burned with fierce determination. "Get away from them," she said, voice steady and commanding. The intruders flinched, clearly thrown off by this unexpected ally. Victor's shoulders sagged slightly, relief washed over him, melding with renewed strength. "Margaret!" he exclaimed, his voice hoarse. Lily's heart raced. This was the woman who had shared countless cups of coffee and dreams on lazy afternoons. In the past, their conversations had included hopes for the future, not fighting off intruders. But here she was, an unexpected beacon of hope. Margaret scanned the room, quickly assessing the situation. "I called the police. They'll be here any minute. We need to hold them off until then." Her fierce gaze swept over the intruders, catching their hesitation. "Together!" Jade shouted again, her small voice cutting through the tension like a sword. Lily felt the surge of energy from her children, bolstered by Margaret's presence. It ignited her own bravery, and she lifted the lamp higher, ready to protect everything she loved. "You heard her. Get out." Margaret stepped beside Lily, a shield of support. "You won't take anything from this family. Not today." The intruders exchanged glances, uncertainty creeping in. They were solid, a unified front, and their spirits were amplified by the tight bond they had forged through love and adversity. "Why don't you just leave?" One of the intruders sneered, regaining a semblance of courage. "We outnumber you." But Margaret took a step forward, her chin raised. "You're here for what? A robbery? You can't take what's already ours, a family built on love and courage. It's worth 100 of whatever you think you're here for." Lily marveled at Margaret's strength, realizing the truth behind her words. Inside that home beats a heart of resilience crafted through laughter, tears, and sacrifice. The lead intruder scoffed, masking fear with bravado. "You think we're afraid of some little girls? You think you're immune just because you shout loud? Immune? No. But we're not afraid to fight for what's ours," Victor said, his voice rising. The police sirens wailed in the distance, echoing through the alley outside. Hope swelled in Lily's throat, almost choking her. They were so close, they could make it. The intruders shifted their weight, contemplating their next move. Victor gave Lily a quick nod. "Let us count to 3," but before he could continue, something unexplainable happened. The air shifted again, this time feeling charged, electric. Lily's heart thundered as the door creaked eerily, drawing everyone's attention away from the intruders. It swung open fully, and in the frame stood a stranger, a tall man with disheveled hair and an intense expression. "Stand down!" he barked, his voice filled with authority that commanded instant attention. "Who the hell are you?" One of the intruders spat, looking incredulous. "I'm the last person you want to mess with," the stranger shot back. His presence was magnetic. Lily's breath caught once more. Who was this man? The tension thickened. Another layer of uncertainty, another unexpected twist in their harrowing night. As everything hung in the balance, would he be their protector or the harbinger of more chaos? Questions swirled in Lily's mind, and one thing was clear, the night was far from over. The stranger stepped inside, the door closing behind him with a resounding thud. His presence exuded authority, powerful yet measured. As everyone held their breath, the atmosphere thick with uncertainty, he glared at the intruders. "You've made a mistake coming here," he declared, his voice steady, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Leave now, and I won't call the cops." The lead intruder laughed nervously. "Who do you think you are?" "I'm someone who doesn't take kindly to bullies." The man took a step forward, unwavering in his stance. "Is that right?" The intruder took a step back, unsure now. "Yeah," the stranger said, each word dripping with assertiveness. "You don't want to find out what happens when you mess with good people." David, standing alongside Lily and Victor, could feel the tide shifting. "Together," he echoed, rallying the kids around him. In that moment, the atmosphere shifted, emboldened by collective strength. Suddenly, the sound of sirens wailed closer. The intruders exchanged panicked glances. The lead scoffed, "We're not done here." But even he seemed uncertain now, the resolve faltering. The police lights flashed outside, casting blue and red hues onto the shelter's walls. "You better think twice," the stranger reiterated, moving closer to Lily and her improvised family. Without warning, the intruders bolted for the door, the bravado vacating their faces faster than they could think. "Let us go!" the lead intruder shouted, and they fled into the night, swallowed by the shadows of the city. Everyone exhaled, a collective breath of relief cascading through the room. Lily felt her heart race calm as she realized they were safe at least for now. "You guys okay?" The stranger turned to face them, eyes sharp but softened slightly upon glancing at the children. Victor stepped forward, still shaken but appreciative. "Thank you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come." Margaret nudged Lily, relief coloring her voice. "Who are you?" "I'm Jason," he replied with a reassuring smile. "I've been volunteering nearby and saw what was going down." The safe, warm laughter that had once filled the shelter returned, mingled now with bursts of conversation about what had just happened. The children were still wide-eyed, absorbing the traumatic yet heroic rescue. "Did you see how brave Jade was?" Max whispered excitedly, glancing at her. "Yeah." Jade grinned, her earlier fear now transformed into pride. "Did you hear me?" "I did," Victor said, his voice filled with admiration. "You were incredible. Every one of you were." Lily felt her heart swell. Every child in that room had summoned courage beyond their years. It reminded her of the strength they all possessed. As the adrenaline wore off, Lily gathered the group together. "We need to keep looking out for each other," she said, her voice steady and sure. "No matter what comes next, we're not just surviving, we're living as a family now. Together." Nods echoed around the room, a collective affirmation sealing their resolve. Just then, the police officers stepped inside, their uniforms bright against the shelter's dim atmosphere. "Is everyone all right?" one of them asked, surveying the group. Jason jumped in, recounting how he intervened just in time. The officers praised him, documenting details while offering reassurances. Lily watched as the shelter buzzed with newfound life. David, beside her, turned with a thoughtful expression. "Maybe we can transform this place even further," he said. "There should be more warm meals, more smiles." "That's a great idea," Margaret chimed in. "What if we made this a safe hub for kids needing shelter?" As conversations blossomed, potential plans started to form. What had once been merely a sanctuary of survival could evolve into a beacon of hope, a grassroots movement of change. Lily couldn't help but smile. Their world had shifted, and perhaps they could rewrite the harsh narratives that had once confined them to shadows. As the night wore on, laughter and plans danced in the air, weaving together dreams that felt palpable for the first time. Looking at the children huddled together, Lily realized she had become a fierce warrior, a protector of dreams, destinies, and futures. With a newfound sense of purpose, she turned to David and Victor, her eyes gleaming. "Let us get to work. There is so much we can do if we all pull together." "Together," they echoed, hands grasping to signify their newfound brotherhood amidst the chaos. This was not the end, this was just the beginning, and as the stars twinkled bright outside, they held a small flicker of hope, a promise between them. Better days were ahead. Join in on this journey, subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next incredible story. Hit that like button now to help us reach more hearts with our message. Your comments mean the world, so share your thoughts and feelings about this transformation below. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how hope can rise from despair. You need to show your support today.